a little much, not knowing where that went. And thank you for holding down the fort while I was having you get in a flow, and I was putting my notes in for today, and yeah, and then Allison had to come and get me because I totally lost track of time. So thanks for hanging out. I've got a lot of stuff to share with you today, and I want to get us started with getting us onto a whiteboard. So hang with me for a second. Let me get the link. And I'll put it in chat for you. And I'll be able to see when you get on. If you can't get on, let me know. And I'll share my screen as well, so you can see what I'm doing. So I have not played in this at all in terms of like integrating it into Teams. So I'm super excited to see how this works and a little nervous as well. So if you guys can see where I am right now, I'm in the front part of my, my screen that says objectives. So the objectives for today are to identify the broad applications of ChatGPT. I'm really going to do some really broad overviews. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how AI can help streamline feedback and grading, the things that I've tried, things that worked, things that didn't work so well, and get some feedback from you if you've tried anything. And then we're going to explore, we're going to do some hands-on work. The first thing I'd love for you to do is grab that QR code, because I'd like to know what experiences do we have in terms of our collective and individual AI experiences. So if you wouldn't mind going to that QR code and getting into this little survey. It's just a couple of questions, and then I can assess where we are and see where we want to go. Oh, uh-oh. That's not good. There we go. Okay, so far, 100% of you are not using it at all. Let's see. Okay, so some of you are. So Pilot, okay, ChatGPT, good. Okay. Isn't this a great feature? I'm loving this feature in Forms. Has anybody used this, I wonder? Lesson planning, discussion prompts, yep. Okay, good. So I won't be too terribly redundant with the things that I want to share with you, which are really about that student feedback and grading. I am going to talk just a little bit about how I use it for some lesson planning, but mostly I'm going to focus on feedback and grading. Gamma, I haven't tried Gamma yet. Yeah, so half of you have and half of you have not. Okay, good. Awesome. So here's what I'm doing with it so far. I've been using it a little bit for lesson planning and some discussion prompts, but mostly what I'm doing, I've been teaching a 1-credit class in the nursing program for scholarly writing, and it's a 1-credit class, but it's designed to help nursing students, graduate level nursing students learn how to write. That is, to me, it boggles my mind that anybody could try to do a how to write in a 1-credit class, because there's not a whole lot of time for, I mean, teaching writing requires a lot of iterative work, right? And a lot of feedback. And when I've got like upwards of 60 students, I usually teach like three sections, each section having about between 15 and 20 students. So I could have upwards of, like between 40 and 60 students. Giving that much feedback, it's like, I did it one year, and then I calculated my hours and looked to see what I was making per hour based on our adjunct faculty status. And I don't think I was making $1 an hour. I mean, it was that much time I was spending, and I'm like, there has to be a better way. So I started playing with chat. And I'm going to show you some of those tips and tricks about how I used it to help me create meaningful feedback that I could repurpose and reuse pretty frequently as I was seeing themes and patterns. But the other really cool thing that I wanted to talk about was image generation and what different tools can use. Now, I created this in Canva. But if you haven't tried playing with some of the image creation, it can be pretty interesting. It can give you some really crazy things. Like I just put in here, can you please create an image of a fire-breathing dragon wearing bunny slippers? This one was probably the closest thing, but if you can see, it's not quite understanding everything. It doesn't quite have the slippers on its feet. It just is there. And you really have to start getting granular and very explicit about what you want. Then I wanted to have an image of a female, of a student. The first thing I had was a student at Carlow University typing on a computer. And what did they give me? They gave me a student in Carlow. They created a student in Carlow, Ireland, because they had the Celtic things around it. And I'm like, no, and they were all male. And so I had to get a little bit more explicit about what I wanted. But you can see how, I think this is the one I used. You can see how some of the features are a little bit distorted. It's getting better, but it's just interesting to me. I think in this situation, she's got multiple fingers. But if you're looking for something that is unique and you don't have to worry about copyright because you're the one creating it, this isn't a bad way to go. So I'm just throwing that out at you, just because sometimes you need a little something to make your PowerPoint slides look better, or you want to create some images for a worksheet. That might be an option for you. So now I want you to go into, let's do this first. I want you to go into your favorite AI tool. And if you don't have one, I'm going to show you, go over to Isadora, and I want you to go to the app launcher. And you will see that we have access to Microsoft 360 Copilot. Now, this does not mean we have access to Copilot. I know that that's what I was hoping it meant. It is not what it means. It means that we have access to the chat. So when you launch into this, you'll see, welcome to Microsoft 360 Copilot. Yeah, no. You want to go in here and you'll see that it's really just the chat. But it's nice to have that feature because it is embedded into our Carlow workplace applications. So if you don't want to pay for chat, or you don't like chat and you want to use something that's Carlow specific because you want to incorporate in your class, this might be a great option. And I'm going to show you some comparison contrasts between what I've done with Copilot and what I did with chat. Clara.
Sorry, I just have a question because I'm not, it sounds to me like you're making references to something that we're supposed to be looking at.
You're not seeing it?
I'm seeing your whiteboard.
No, okay. You're not seeing what I'm sharing. You're not seeing my screen. Thank you for letting me know that. So,
Alexis, I can see, well, I could see your screen. When you were talking about the dragon and the
you could
slippers,
see all that?
I could not see the dragon that you were referring to, but
Okay,
like right now I see that you're
can you
sharing
see
Copilot.
the Copilot? Okay, good. So anybody else, did you not see my dragon? You've got to see my dragon. It's not a great creation, but
Oh,
there's
now we see.
now you see it. Okay, good. Thanks for letting me know. Here's what happened. Because I can integrate Whiteboard directly into Teams, I think it was overriding my screen share. So thanks for letting me know that. Okay, so back to the Learning Lab. So what I want you to do is I want you to right click on this. Can you right click on it? And copy it. Copy just this thesis statement. And I'm going to try to put it in the chat too so that you have it in an easier way. That might be easier to do it from the chat.
Yes, thank you, Alexis, because it wasn't letting me right click there. Thank you.
Okay. And then I want you to put it in either Copilot or chat, doesn't matter which. And I want you to say, please evaluate this thesis statement. Okay. So let's read that thesis statement out loud for y'all. I think universal health care is good because everyone should have it. People without money can't afford insurance, so if they get sick, they might die because they can't get essential medical care. Taxes might go up a lot, but the government should find a way to make it work so that everyone can have affordable health care. How many of you have ever had your student give you a thesis statement with a lot of circular reasoning and a lot of, like, it's not very clear? Pamela. Pamela, you got your hand up. So does Clara. You guys want to shout out your questions?
I had already given you my question, Alexis. I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay. No worries. No worries. So what do you think? I mean, this is not something that's unusual to me, and even teaching graduate students, I know I have a lot of this kind of circular reasoning, and I struggle with, okay, well, where do I go from here when I'm looking at somebody's thesis statement, right? I'm like, okay, there's so much that I want to say about this, but I could spend 5 minutes and multiply that by 60 students. So I go back over to Copilot, and Copilot says, your thesis statement presents a clear and compelling argument for universal health care. I'm not sure that I would agree with it, but it points out some things that have some that are strengths. But then it does go into areas of improvement or for improvement, and it says exactly what I thought it might say. Add examples, suggest what might make it work, but it doesn't really get into any of the granular ways that I would want to help support this student, right? If I tell a student, give me some examples, is that really going to help them fix their circular reasoning? Probably not. So I thought to myself, okay, this is where I first started. And then I thought, do I need to train this tool to actually understand what I'm looking for in a particular thesis statement? Do I need to actually have it understand what my lesson is? What if I uploaded, or what if I had it help me create a rubric that would evaluate the quality of this thesis statement. Did anybody try this out in chat? Do you have anything else you want to share that could shine some light on what you found? Pamela?
Hi, Alexis. So, well, I did it in Copilot,
Yeah.
and the initial feedback was similar to what you had.
Mm-hmm.
It highlighted issues with clarity and precision, supporting arguments, and addressing counter arguments. But then it provided me with some prompts I might want to consider to get better information from it.
Yes.
Yes. And
Yes.
so one of those was really, how can I strengthen my supporting points? So I clicked on that just to see what it would give me.
Good.
And it offered things that would be very helpful.
Yep.
Use data and statistics, include expert opinions, provide real life examples, address counter arguments thoroughly, which helps a lot with bias.
Yeah.
And then it offered an enhanced version of the supporting points.
Ooh, nice.
In a full paragraph.
Oh,
And
nice.
then it asked me if I would like more specific examples or data to include in the thesis.
Oh, do tell. Did it give you any?
It's offering, now I haven't asked it to do that yet. So can you provide some statistics on healthcare access? I just clicked on that. And now it's doing research.
So you
it's
can
offering uninsured rates, access to
Yes.
care, usual source of care, preventive services. Now it has footnotes, and
Yeah.
I'll be eager to check those because as I
Right.
shared with you before, sometimes when I go to the links that AI provides, they really don't support the
They
point that they're
don't.
making.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
These are the things that you have to be super, super careful. And that's why you have to teach it what you want. And I love the prompts. Sometimes you can go someplace with them, with the prompts, and it's helpful. I do think the prompts in Copilot are a little bit more finesse than the ones in ChatGPT. That's my opinion. I'm not partial either way. I do have the paid subscription for ChatGPT, so I get a little bit better, I think, responses. But I think that, Pamela, you're pointing out something that's really important, and that is it will take you down layers and layers and layers. But what it gives you back, you have to be very, very careful about, because you never know when it's hallucinating. And I know Caroline went over that a lot with the prompts. So if you haven't seen Caroline's workshop on search engineering prompts, you might want to go back and take a look at that, because if it will give you an answer regardless of how bad the question is that you ask it. And the reason I put this in here the way I did when I ask it, where's my original question? Oh, here. No, that's not my original question. Oh, please evaluate this thesis statement. I gave it a really lousy prompt. That's all I said. Please evaluate this thesis statement. Based on what? It doesn't have any good information. What I told you to do in this is to copy and paste the thesis statement and ask for help crafting feedback. That's also not a great prompt, because it doesn't know what are you crafting feedback for. It doesn't have any idea. So what I want to do is get even more granular when I'm going into this. And so I'm going to go back to what I like, and I'm going to go back to my paid version of ChatGPT, and I'm going to say, Chat, can you please provide some feedback to my students? Okay, that gives it a little bit more feedback or a little bit more clarity. It's still not great, and I'm going to show you why. It still doesn't know what I'm trying to do to measure it on. And here to Pamela's point before, would you like me to revise the thesis statement? Happy to review the next thing. Now that's more information that from me as the teacher. And it gives some feedback that I can use, but it's still not evaluating it based on any criteria. So then I'm going to take you into activity 2. And that is creating a rubric. And that's what I've used a lot. I've used this a lot to help me design some rubrics. So in this situation, I've been working with chat for a while, and it kind of understands where I'm going with my thesis statements. But when I started having it help me with the evaluation, I noticed it wasn't paying much attention to the APA format. Now, I was asking for feedback for the entire essay, and it wasn't looking at APA format at all. So I started asking chat to include APA formatting in its review. And when I ask it again to give me more information about evaluating a rubric. Did it add it in there? No, I didn't add that in there. Oh well, it did put in the APA formatting in this one for the actual essay. And I'll take you guys there in a hot minute. But first I want to go back to this. So now I've asked it to create a rubric, and you can do that in either of these two tools. I'm going to use, again, this one. Chat, can you please create a rubric for evaluating thesis statement for a college level argumentative essay. Oh, this is interesting. It gave me something completely different here than when I did it, and I did a copy and paste for you guys. See if we can do that side by side. Okay, for some reason I can't make that particular screen any longer, but where was I? I don't know if I can do this and show it to you with enough clarity. Oh, darn it. There we go. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to show you two things. You can see that this one includes acknowledgement of counter argument. This one talks about argument strength. This one gives you a grading scale, but this one did not. So it really is about how you craft that prompt. And so you can see in this prompt, I gave it a lot more information than probably in this one. So, and is it a lot different? Not really, but it's enough different that you gotta look at everything that you give it and say, okay, what am I trying to do with this evaluation? And in this situation, I think you can look at, you know how to make a rubric. You can look at what you want and then start to pull out of it what makes sense for you, and then build it into whatever you're using, Brightspace, or I hope you're using Brightspace, or just handing somebody a paper version of it. So if I go into this now and I say, let's paste that back in there. Copy. Now if I say, please evaluate this thesis statement using the rubric above and provide feedback for the student on how to improve. And then it actually gives you some information about how to craft your feedback back to the student. After doing this about a half a dozen times, I started noticing that the feedback and suggestions for improvement were very, very similar across all the different thesis statements that I had, that I was entering in. And I was doing them all because I wanted to see, I really wanted to see how far I could take the tool. And it was very interesting that I kept having to prompt it, like, but then after about the 6th or 7th time that I was prompting it to look for different things, it started to know what I was looking for. And the more I started pushing APA format, the more it would just pull out anything. Even if I wasn't asking it to look for APA format, it already kind of had it in its mind that I wanted to know if the student was using APA format. And it would come back with feedback even if I didn't ask for that. So it was learning what I wanted, and it was learning how to give me information back in a way that I could give it to the students. Then what I started doing was I started looking to see, okay, what are all the different ways that this feedback and suggestions for improvement, I'm trying to give fast feedback to the students so that, you know, they've got something and they have an assignment every week, that they've got some feedback from me quickly and in a timely way. So I started making a bank of different feedback responses that I could give to a student that would help them, especially with things like the thesis introduces a topic but is wordy and unclear. The argument is buried in a series of statements rather than a concise claim. I was getting that a lot in the first drafts of the students' papers. So that was something that I could copy and paste really quickly, and I could give them that information back in a way that they could use it and rewrite and do another draft. So I started having banks of responses that I could pull, copy, paste, and it seemed to work. I mean, the students were, the improvement was there. The students were appreciating the fast feedback, and I felt like I could craft it in a way that wasn't demeaning, because sometimes whenever I'm grading and I'm grading quickly, it's a fast, terse, nope, you don't have it, here's what you're looking at. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're trying to get something out to them quickly, and I didn't want it to come across as punitive, like you're not getting it, you don't understand, this is opinion, whatever. I wanted it to be crafted in a way that they could hear the feedback and use it and apply it. And quite frankly, I think that chat helped me to tone the feedback in a way that it was very positive and more of an appreciative inquiry approach than it would be, you know, just flat out feedback in a quick way. So that's one thing that I really wanted to show you, is the development of these rubrics, how long it takes. It took me probably about 6 or 7 tries before I really got what I wanted from chat. I kept going back and saying, I want it to sound like this. I wanted to, and I said to it, I want it to sound like appreciative inquiry. I want it to sound positive. I don't want it to sound like a punitive, like quick grade. And so eventually I was able to get to a place where I had this. And what I really like about this is that it gives me proficient, developing, and needs improvement. So if somebody gets something that says developing and they get good feedback, there's probably a pretty good chance that they could go from feeling like, well, I'm developing these skills, but I haven't gotten them there, to proficient, as opposed to, if I compare side by side here, the traditional excellent, good, satisfactory, and needs improvement. Now, this is from Copilot, and this is from ChatGPT. I have to say I really like ChatGPT better. And I like the way the scoring guidance is provided. Now, I do like the points system that I got from Copilot. So maybe when I go back, I would ask it for a point system rather than just a number, because there's probably a range of what needs improvement looks like or developing looks like that I didn't get here. So now let's talk about how I used it to, well, before I go there, does anybody have any questions about the rubric design and how I did that? Because I also had the entire rubric design here, and as I'm thinking about this one, this is one of the ones that I went back and forth with it a lot. Initially, I thought, a pretty well-rounded rubric, but I was lumping APA formatting in grammar and mechanics, and the more I graded, the paper, the more I realized, oh, they weren't really getting APA formatting at all. And I wanted to have a separate thing that says what I was looking for, and to actually call it out and not just lump it in with anything else. So I did another one, and this one was a lot more concise, but I didn't like it as much. So I just took out the APA formatting and I added it to the one that I did like. So that's something that I've done, is I've done multiple rubrics and then looked at the best of the bunch and then went from there. So in activity 3, I've got 3 more responses. And what I want you to do with these, and I'm going to put all of these in the chat so that you don't have to try to copy and paste them from here. I want you to put them in your, whichever of the bots you like, use whichever one you want, and put them all in there. And ask it to tell you what the common weaknesses are in each of them. Common weaknesses are of all of them, but in general, what you're looking for is a theme. Because what I did was, after I was done grading all 60 of these papers, and I had uploaded 60 different drafts of their essays into chat, I had seen a lot of similar things going on. And what I wanted it to do was, I wanted it to help give me some feedback on what could I do, what could I cover in a lesson for them that would help them for the final essay. What wasn't I covering? And it was something, it was so profound for me, because when I did the copying and the pasting and the pulling together, what I noticed was something that I hadn't even thought about teaching independently. I was so fixated on APA format. I was thinking about how to build an outline. I was certainly concerned about them using good references, good resources. What I didn't know that I wasn't teaching was how to make good transitions between the paragraphs. And when chat responded back to me that one of the things that it was seeing was the lack of good transitions and the lack of thoughtful logic, I thought, wow, that was profound. So I added a piece in, and it wasn't even a lot. It was just a little thing that I added into the module on creating an outline that said, you know, here's some tips and tricks around, you know, creating good transitions between your paragraphs and seeing what the logical flow looks like. And that one thing led to some really interesting and really profoundly better essays overall when they turned in their final thing. So my goal here is to show you how you can take things, items that your students create, some of your students' work, and put it in and say, what aren't they getting? Here are the learning objectives. Now you can get better at this, and you can say, here are the learning objectives I want them to meet. Here's the work product that they're giving me. What are the weaknesses that you're seeing that I can improve upon in my teaching? And it doesn't have to be all 60 of your students' papers. I just happened to do that because I wanted to inundate chat with as much information as I could. But you can do it with a handful of them and just give yourself a quick check to see what you need to work on. Did anybody try, while I was yammering on, did anybody try to put any of these into chat to see what they came back with? Here's my glasses. Nobody? You just listened to me yammer on? That's okay.
I did. I put the last one in there.
Yeah.
For I think universal health care is good because everyone should have it. People without money get sick and they die. That one.
Yeah.
For ChatGPT, I said, you know, please evaluate this thesis statement. It did, again, the strengths, areas for improvement, gave me a revised thesis statement. And then when you were talking about the transitions, I said, please make a good transition for the next paragraph. And it gave me that because I was just messing around. And then I said, what are the weaknesses? So it did the same thing, that it was informal, lack of specificity, weak counter argument, acknowledgement, emotional appeal without evidence, and then revised version for strength. So that's what I got from ChatGPT for that.
Oh, anything that you feel like you could use with that?
Well, I mean, it would definitely give somebody more ideas of how to strengthen that thesis statement.
Can
if
you
were,
see how you could craft feedback from it though?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you could easily.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to try it now too in the paid version of this. So can you please evaluate these 3 thesis statements and let me know know where there are common weaknesses and what I can focus on in my teaching to help them. See, it's like typing in front of people is as bad as trying to write on the board in front of people. You just can't do it. To help them improve. Okay. Oh, did I put him in there? No, it's probably waiting. Okay, what did you do? Please share your statements with me. Okay. How's this? Oh, interesting. Do you see what it's doing here with the 3, 4? It's using the rubric that it designed for me earlier. Oh, that's cool. I didn't even tell it to use the rubric and it's doing it. This was another thing that I added in was counter arguments and rebuttals. You know, the students were not finding, even though I was having them do a literature review, they weren't necessarily using that literature to create counter arguments or to even understand how to support, you know, necessarily their arguments. They were just citing things that, you know, I have to cite something to cite something. So there you go. So I did add that in as well. Okay. So go back to the Learning Lab. So what did I cover with you today? Mostly what I wanted to share with you was the development of a rubric for evaluating a thesis statement. I wanted to show you how I used that thesis statement rubric to have ChatGPT help me get feedback to the students. And then I wanted to share with you the ways in which I can take a sample of my students' work and do a check for myself to see what do I need to focus in on, how can I improve my teaching, what additional skills can I be teaching so that everybody in the class is able to improve and work with the lessons that I'm trying to teach. The other thing that I used it for is creating discussion prompts. So here's the thing that I have the students do in this 1 credit class is pick a topic. There's always like the big trends in the nursing field. And what I want them to do is I want them to look at these trends and find one that they can write an argumentative essay around. It's usually something like, you know, work-life balance or pay for nurses. In recent years, it's been more AI and telemedicine and the impact that's having on the nursing field. But it was really, really hard to get some of them to go from having just I'm going to look at AI and nursing. And I said, well, that's a great topic. Where do you want to go with it? To having them actually come up with an arguable, not just an opinion-based topic. So I started working with them to think about discussion prompts. And I actually have them using ChatGPT to do this so that they can start generating their research questions. And so one of the discussion prompts was better pay for nurses. I said, that's great. Where do you want to go with it? And so I asked Chat, and I did this with them. I said, okay, Chat, we need a discussion prompt on the impact of better pay for nursing in the workforce. And this is what it gave us back. So we started looking at economic considerations, retention and burnout, equity and policy. And I said, okay, from this big, big topic that you've come up with, where do you want to focus? And I said, you can focus on any of these topics. You can't use these questions as your thesis statement, but you can revise one of them to be included in a thesis statement. And so they started working with that to help them. And they're like, well, we didn't even think about all of these things. And so it was an opportunity to use ChatGPT to help them brainstorm and come up with better, deeper questions than their surface level questions that they were asking. And I actually had them, I told them they could use ChatGPT, but let me know if they used it to help them with the writing. And I said to them, but the deal is you have to let me know that you've used it, and you also have to do your own writing initially. So you can help it to edit it or whatever, but you have to do your own writing first. Almost 100% of the students who used ChatGPT for this, and it was not mandatory by any stretch of the imagination, said that they liked their own writing better. The other thing I had them do was do the peer evaluation of each other's work too. So it was their work and the ChatGPT version, and the peer reader had to read both of them and give them feedback. Without a doubt, the students felt that the ChatGPT version was helpful in getting them to think more logically, but ultimately they appreciated their own writing so much better, which was relieving to me on a lot of levels, because we think that the students are going to use this, and they do, but when you're giving them the option to look at it, and I did this with graduate students and undergraduate students, and the results were the same, that given the opportunity to use ChatGPT to edit and to help them think through things was incredibly helpful to them. But ultimately they didn't like the writing. And I don't like chat. When I put my stuff into chat, I think it sounds fake. I don't think it sounds good at all. But it does help me to think it through if I'm stuck on a topic. Okay. That's pretty much what I got for you. I talked about the compare and contrast with these. I talked about how I created an initial one in ChatGPT for evaluating the entire paragraph, and how I continued to build it. So I've got that. Any questions, any takeaways that you can give me that you might, what might you use, or what insights have you found that the benefits of this that you've come up with in your own work? What can you share with each other, and what takeaways did you get from what I shared with you? I'd love to have you grab one of these Post-it notes, and it would help us. Grab one of these Post-it notes and just drop it in and let me know, and we can answer any questions. I'm going to stop sharing and see if there's anybody who has any questions or anything that I can offer clarity around, or anything that I can share with you that's been my experience, good, bad, and ugly, with ChatGPT.
How do you grab a Post-it note, Alexis?
Oh, you can just take your cursor and pull it over. And then you can double click in and you can type.
Does anybody not see any Post-it notes? Am I the only one? I just see
I don't
everyone.
see any either.
You don't
The
see them?
screen is gone.
The screen is gone. Do you have the?
I just see our Brady bunches.
Oh,
There you go. We're back.
okay. Your Brady bunches.
I don't think it's letting us grab the notes though, Alexis. I think it's just letting you.
It shouldn't. You should have full access. Let me try this again. This, like I said, this is the first time I'm using Whiteboard in chat. Try it again and see if you can get in there now, Pamela.
I'm not able to grab anything.
You're not able to grab anything. We'll just throw it in the chat. Anybody want to share out loud what they've tried, what's worked for them, what hasn't? Absolutely, Pamela. I'm happy to offer it up. I've been playing with it, and I'm just excited to offer up and see if anybody else is doing something also cool that they want to share, or any insights that you've had using it. I don't see anything coming over in the takeaways. Is anybody adding anything? I see people flitting about in it. If you can't get it in the whiteboard, that's okay. Just throw it in the chat. Guys, I'm not hearing anything from anybody. No one has anything to share?
Okay, I'll go, even though this is
Thank
kind of out
you.
of my knowledge base.
Thanks.
So, I mean, I know we spent a lot about rubrics, and a lot of you, I don't use a rubric in my world in a sense. I mean, everything kind of is a rubric. But what it made me a little bit more at ease about is that you still have to apply the rubric. Like, I think, I mean, I guess you could train ChatGPT, am I right, to actually, if you gave it the rubric and you gave them all and had them evaluate it, but that doesn't seem like that would be, I don't know, most of I always worry about ChatGPT, are we just going to be replaced, right? I mean, so
No, right?
so,
Yes.
yeah. So it made me feel better that, yeah, you can use ChatGPT to use it, but you're still going to need that intellectual backing.
Yes.
To actually use it in an effective way. So that
God,
made me feel better.
No, and thanks, Beth, for that. And I think that for me, it was a lot that I had to teach Chat what I wanted. It wasn't that it got it right off the bat. It was a series of me going in, tweaking the rubric, telling it what I was looking for, sharing my learning objectives with it. And then once it learned what I wanted, I mean, you saw whenever I did the evaluation of, I put those 3 in, it went back. I didn't even have to prompt it to, that shocked me just now, that I didn't even have to prompt it to use the rubric. It knew what I wanted. And I think that that's, it starts to learn you, and it starts to assume and project what you're going to ask for.
Alexis, it looked to me like it was actually assigning what it would grade, how it would use the rubric to grade.
It was.
Which I think gets to Beth's concern and mine about us being replaced.
But no, because here's what, you can override that, right? So when I was looking at Chat the first time around, the first time I did this, and it was giving me some feedback about how to grade something, and I said to it, I really don't think you're looking carefully at that paper enough. Now, I read the paper. I said, you really need to go in there and look at how the student is using APA format. And I think you're being very generous here in terms of what you think that student did. And it apologized, the tool actually apologized. You're right, I didn't do that. Let me go back and redo that. So it is a tool to help facilitate it, to facilitate the grading, but it is by no stretch of the imagination ready for prime time in terms of tuning us out and having it turned on and just allocating all of our grading to that. I still had to read all 60 of those papers. What I wanted to do was make sure that I was being consistent in the way in which I was grading them, because after about the 10th paper on a Saturday night, I'm pretty tired and I don't want to be biased. And so it helped me to be consistent. It helped me to identify common weaknesses and areas of strength where I could, not have to teach a particular item because the students knew that. And to provide feedback in a way that was quick and consistent and positive. It was framed in a much more positive way. So that's the things, those are my takeaways and how I feel that it has helped improve my teaching and help me to give the students something really relevant and in a quick amount of time. So I hope that helps ease your concerns a little bit.
Thank you.
Yeah. But it took a long time to get there. Anybody else? We've got about 2 minutes left. And if anybody wants help individually with this to use it in the classroom, I'll be very happy to jump online and be, an ear to listen. I can't necessarily say that I'm expert enough to be a coach, but I'm at least well versed enough to help think it through if you ever want somebody to bounce some ideas off of. I am super excited that you guys came to the session today. I hope it helped you. I hope it gave you some ideas and some inspiration. And I am certainly here if you need me and Caroline, David, Luke, and Allison, we're all here to help you with anything you need. So thanks for being here. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. And I'll talk to you in the next in our next Lunch and Learn.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.